So here we are again, but this time we're in 7.2.5. Now, if you saw my previous video that discussed the changes to Survival Hunter, you'll know that not much has really changed, so there won't be too much added to this guide, but there are still some differences. Some things I won't be able to predict because we're not quite in Tomb yet, so I will make an update for when we're a bit into Tomb and I've gotten used to that gear and things like that. So as always, I'm going to go through the whole thing, just in case anyone new finds this guide and has not seen my previous guides. So, for talents, we have the tier 15, Animal Instincts, Throwing Axes, and Way of the Mok'Nathal. Now for best results, you will want to go Way of the Mok'Nathal, but if you're kind of new to the spec, Way of the Mok'Nathal can be pretty difficult to maintain, so it can be better for you to go Animal Instincts. It does do a lot less DPS, but it's a lot easier to manage. Throwing Axes is not worth it, apart from leveling and questing. Next, level 30, we have a Murder of Crows, Mortal Wounds, and Snake Hunter. At the moment, you can either go with Snake Hunter or Murder of Crows. Snake Hunter can be a little bit harder to use sometimes. So again, if you're a bit new to spec, go for a Murder of Crows. I personally, well, at least before 7.2.5, I more used a Murder of Crows because I didn't need Snake Hunter. But now that our 2 set has been nerfed and eventually we're going to lose our 2 set, which, if you do not know, helps our mastery, which is Hunting Companion, which gives us our charges of Mongoose Bites. So I think maybe when I lose my 2 set, I might go for Snake Hunter, because it might be needed. Level 45, we have Post Haste, Disengage, and Trailblazer. These 3 doesn't really matter, but I would go for Disengage because it can help you get out of some sticky situations. 60, we have Caltrops, Guerrilla Tactics, and Steel Trap. For pure single target, you'll want to go Steel Trap, and for any kind of AoE, you'll want to go Caltrops. Unless you have the legendary boots. If you have the legendary boots like I do, you want to go Caltrops for that extra focus regeneration. Seeing Steel Trap has a 48-second cooldown and Caltrops has a 12-second cooldown. So with Caltrops, every 12 seconds you'll get another 25 energy from it if you put it down. At level 75, we have Sticky Bomb, Ranger's Net, and Camouflage. This one does not matter at all. You can go with any of these, to be honest. But I would advise Ranger's Net. At level 90, we have Butchery, Dragon's Fire Grenade, and Serpent Sting. For single target, you want to go Serpent Sting, and for AoE, you want to go Butchery. Dragon's Fire Grenade, even though it's been buffed, I still think it's a bit weak compared to the other 2. I need to test it a bit more, see if there is situations where it would be useful. I mean, it might be useful in the situation where you have the new Legendary Ring. Because the new Legendary Ring that got put in 7.2.5, if it's here, yeah, it gives you the Serpent Sting talent. And on pure single target, Butchery is more or less useless. So you might want to take Dragon's Fire Grenade as well as having Serpent Sting. At level 100 we have Spitting Cobra, Expert Trapper, and Aspect of the Beast. Here pretty much is a unanimous decision to go Spitting Cobra. It does a lot of damage and it gives you focus. So that's about it for the talents, that's all you should need to know. Okay, so next I'm going to give a quick overview of the abilities and what they do. So, first we have our main ability, which is Mongoose Bite. This is the main damaging ability of the spec. It's an attack, just a basic attack, and then it gives you a stack of Mongoose Fury, which increases Mongoose Bite damage by 50% for 14 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. But the successive attacks will not renew the duration, so no matter how many you do, it will be the set time from your first one, and then your next ones after that will not renew the timer. So I'll quick show you here. So do one, see it's got 14 seconds, do another one, time is still going down, it does not go back up. So next we have Lacerate. This at the moment is just a basic dot and what your tier 20 is currently based on. We have Raptor Strike, It's just basic attack, but it synergizes with Way of the Mok'Nathal and Serpent Sting. Next we have Flanking Strike, which is an attack that both you and your pet do, and it gives double the chance to trigger your Mastery, which will give you Mongoose Bite charges. It also does a decent amount of damage itself. When it requires a talent, we have Carve. If you take Butchery replaces Carve, but Carve is your basic AoE. Muzzle is your Interrupt. Spitting Cobra is a talent, Caltrops. This one is Explosive Trap. I don't actually have the tooltip there because I didn't put it in the macro, but give me a second and I will show it. There we go. It's well, you put the trap down. If an enemy goes on it, it triggers, does initial damage, and applies a dot. Next we have Aspect of the Eagle, which is our main and pretty much only DPS cooldown. It gives you 20% increased crit chance, and your pet's attacks an additional 25% chance to grant you a charge of Mongoose Bite. So it is a very effective cooldown. Next we have Fury of the Eagle, which is your artifact ability. This also benefits from Mongoose Fury, that increases the damage of Mongoose Bite. So if you have 6 attacks, this will do an extra, well, it will do 300% more damage, and it's an AoE. Well, a cone in front of you AoE. We have Aspect of the Turtle, which is your defensive. Deflects all attacks and reduces the damage you take by 30% for 8 seconds, but you cannot attack apart from traps. Like, you can still put Caltrops and Explosive Trap down. We have Harpoon, which is kind of like a charge. Just do that. Takes you to the enemy. We have Exhilaration, which is a basic heal. And Aspect of the Cheetah, which is a speed boost. Those are pretty much the important abilities that you need to know. Okay, moving more on to stat priority. At the moment in 7.2.5, seeing as, well, at least I still have my 2 set, so Mastery isn't as important. But for someone who does not have that 2 set, Mastery can have a huge impact. So, before 7.2.5, I had around 8% Mastery and 29% haste. I dropped some haste to get some more Mastery because even though I still have the 2 set, it got nerfed. So at the moment, haste is still the main stat, but Mastery has taken, well, we need more Mastery now, let's say, because that 2 set has been nerfed and we will be losing the 2 set at some point. So at the moment it goes haste, then Mastery, and then basically just whatever. But you want to get as much haste and Mastery as you can, in my opinion. I would say the amount of Mastery you should be aiming for is probably 12-14%. Problem is, it can be hard to get Mastery because I believe it's still 800 Mastery equals 1%. So it can be difficult to get your Mastery high. In terms of best in slots, for example, trinkets, I have not tested the Tomb Sargeras trinkets yet. I will probably do a separate video on that because, well, to me they don't look that good. So at the moment, the trinkets I would recommend, if you can get a high level Bloodthirsty Instinct and a high level Convergence of Fates, these 2 trinkets will heavily boost your DPS. In terms of legendaries, Call of the Wild is still the best legendary you can possibly get because it reduces our only huge DPS cooldown, and it reduces it by quite a lot. In terms of other legendaries, there are a few you can go for. For example, this new ring that I was talking about earlier is a very, very nice ring. There's also Roots of Shaladrisil. The effect, of course, has no effect on the DPS, but it has nice stats. So, basically, apart from, like, Call of the Wild, really, it's just legendaries with good stats. You got to look out for ones with haste and mastery. and then there's Butcher's Bone Apron for AoE situations. And that's another thing. If let's say you don't have Call of the Wild, but you have Soul of the Huntmaster and Butcher's Bone Apron, what you could do, you could have Serpent Sting and Butchery at the same time. So you could keep Serpent Sting up, and then when your Butcher's Bone Apron is stacked up, you can use Butchery. With gems and enchants, at the moment I believe it depends on your gear and stats. For example, on my rings I currently have Mastery to give me that extra little boost of Mastery. On my cloak is 200 agility. In all my gem slots I have haste at the moment, because we need, like, if I replaced all of my gems with Mastery, it would not even give me 1% of Mastery. So I'm just sticking to haste in my gem slots to give me as much haste as I can. Apart from one gem slot where I have a 200 agility gem. On my neck enchant, I have Mark of the Hidden Satyr, as I believe that's still the best one. Right, that should be it for those. Now I'm going to move on to the artifact weapon and artifact trait progression. So here we are. Of course, at first you will not have these traits here, so we will be starting down here. Of course you have to start here, and I believe the best way maybe to go at the moment is to go Hellcarver, Raptor's Cry, Explosive Force, and then I switch to the Skylord. Then you come back over here, get Sharpened Fang, My Beloved Monster, Bird of Prey, Embrace of the Aspects, Fluffy Go, and then you can get Talon Strike and Eagle's Bite, and then come back here, get Hunter's Guile, Lacerating Talons, and then just fill out these two, because they are not really DPS increases. In terms of the new traits, of course you have to go for Ferocity, the Unseen Path, and then Jaws of the Mongoose, Talonbond, Echoes of Onara, and then, once you have all those, you can start filling out here. So I would first go Sharpened Fang, then I would go Fluffy Go, and then probably, I mean, from there it doesn't matter as much, but I would maybe go My Beloved Monster or Lacerating Talons, whichever one you do the other one next, and then go for Explosive Force, Raptor's Cry, Hellcarver. I think that should be about it, and then yeah, you can do Hunter's Bounty and just fill out. So yeah, that's the approximate order you should go with your artifact weapon. At the moment, I mean, if this is an alt, you should have 40 artifact knowledge, so it's not that big of a deal. You should be able to do it quite easily. You shouldn't really need an order, but if it's not an alt, this is your first character, then try to follow that order best you can. So, onto the rotation. I would start with Harpoon to get in close, then Raptor Strike, Lacerate, Raptor Strike, Spitting Cobra, Raptor Strike, Murder of Crows, Raptor Strike, and then your 3 Mongoose Bites, then activate Aspect of the Eagle, Flanking Strike, use any Mongoose Bites you have. If you don't have any buttons to use, you can put down like a Caltrops or an Explosive Trap. Hopefully by then you should have maybe Flanking Strike off cooldown or another Mongoose Bite to use. You should always prioritize using your Mongoose Bites, especially if you have Aspect of the Eagle available. Well, if you have it on, you should prioritize using your Mongoose Bites. The only thing that has priority over Mongoose Bites in this situation is Raptor Strike. But only when your Way of the Mok'Nathal is about to fall off. Of course, this only applies if you're using Way of the Mok'Nathal. If you're using Animal Instincts, then you don't have to worry about Raptor Strike. So, that is the basic opening rotation. And then, once you get to 6 stacks, if you don't have any Mongoose Bites to use, you can use Fury of the Eagle to kind of, because Fury of the Eagle will prolong your Mongoose Fury window. but it will not, well, let's say it like this. Fury of the Eagle only accommodates for its own time, if that makes sense. So if I use Fury of the Eagle, I'll demonstrate. So, right, got Mongoose Fury here. This is a Weakaura, by the way. And then I use Fury of the Eagle. But you see, extended the time, but if I cancel it... Oh shit, I didn't cancel it. But right, see, if I did cancel it, that extra time that Fury of the Eagle put on would be removed from the timer. So you can't just activate it and then stop it straight away, because that time that it put on will be taken away again. So you may as well just leave it running. So hopefully by the end of Fury of the Eagle, you should have another Mongoose Bite to use. If you do, right at the last second before the Fury of the Eagle ends, use the Mongoose Bite. From there, the rotation is pretty standard. Just keep Way of the Mok'Nathal up if you are using it, and do not... Right, if you are not in a window of Mongoose Fury and you are under 2 stacks of Mongoose, well, under 2 charges of Mongoose Bite, do not use Mongoose Bite. You should not start a window of Mongoose Fury until you're at least 2 charges of Mongoose Bite. It is best to start when you have 3 charges to make sure you can get to 3 stacks of Mongoose Fury, but you can start at 2, just never start at 1, because you may completely screw yourself. Alright, I'm going to do a quick demonstration of this rotation so you can see it in action. Alright, I did make, of course, a couple of mistakes because I'm having a bit of lag, so yeah, the timing wasn't quite right. But if you get the timing right, it can be a big boost to your DPS. One thing I didn't mention that you might have noticed, if, let's say, you are on 2 stacks of Mongoose Fury, and the buff has 4 seconds left, and you have 2 charges of Mongoose Bite, don't use those charges of Mongoose Bite. Either let the Fury window run out, or just right click it and start again, because if you're not going to get to a high amount of stacks of Mongoose Fury, there's no point. You're just wasting those charges. Okay, so of course, if you are using Animal Instincts, the rotation does change a bit, because you will not be using Raptor Strike anywhere near as much. And the same, it changes also if you're using Snake Hunter. So I'm going to do the same thing, so for this time I'm going to be using Animal Instincts. I have not really used Animal Instincts much, so don't take this as gospel. I'm not 100% on what I'm doing, but I'll give it a go. yeah, hopefully that gives you a basic idea. And alright, I will quick switch back to Way of the mODTDRDxS once it lets me. Oh yeah, quickly, if you're wondering what's going on down here with my abilities, that is showing you what abilities I am casting. So let's quickly do a lacerate. It'll show you there that that's what I've been doing. That's to kind of help you understand what I'm doing in my rotation. Though it does bug out a bit with caltrops. Watch. Yeah, it just spams caltrops for some reason. Get back here. I have to wait to get out of combat now. Right, so I'm going to switch to Way of the mODTDRDxS and Snake Hunter. Again, I have not used Snake Hunter in quite a long time, so I might make some mistakes, but this is just kind of an example. So yeah, just a quick little shot there. You don't have to use Snake Hunter right at the start if you don't want to. You can just go straight into Aspect of the Eagle and then just save Snake Hunter in case you're a bit starved on mongoose bites. I think that's about it for the rotation. Just remember, if you're using Way of the mODTDRDxS, keep it up like your life depends on it. No matter what, you have to keep that active because it gives you such a decrease in DPS if you let it go down because you have to stack it back up again. And of course, if you're using Animal Instincts, you don't need to worry. Alright, quickly moving on to kind of macros and add-ons that can be helpful for the spec. You saw I was using Weakauras. So Weakauras I have tracking my Mongoose Fury and my Lacerate, and also the cooldown of my Mongoose Bites. In the description I will leave the Weakaura code so you can put it into Weakauras and have it for yourself, or you could try and create your own or just look somewhere for one. But I would highly recommend having something like Weakauras to keep track of Mongoose Bite and Way of the mODTDRDxS if you're using it. In terms of add-ons, that's pretty much the only add-on I would recommend specifically. With macros, there's the trap macro. This is the macro I use. Of course, ignore this end bit. You just put whatever you want, like whatever trap you want to use at the end there. This basically throws the trap wherever your mouse cursor is. It's as easy as that. I'll also put that in the description. Another macro you can use is just, you can put /pet attack on one of your abilities to have, for example, you could have it on lacerate or whatever. You could have pet attack on lacerate, so when you lacerate a target, your pet will focus to that target. This can be especially useful if you are target switching. So let's say you're attacking one target, you and your pet are on that target, but you have to go over to a different target. Your pet might not always follow you, so when you try and do flanking strike, your pet won't be in range. But if you do, let's say, if you have it on lacerate and you do a lacerate when you reach your target, your pet will start running over your target.